The Great War Western Front. Is it worth a buy? Let's read the words of the developer. The Great War Western Front is the definitive World War I strategy game. Play a deciding role in history with this real-time tactical experience as you take charge of the iconic Western Front from 1914 to 1990. I mean 1919. Fucking war ended in 1918. What? The Great War fascinated me a while ago, a good 15 years ago or so. I did lots and lots of reading about the Great War, watched loads of documentaries on it. Very, very fascinating. What fascinated me the most was the incompetence and arrogance of the generals who just sent young men to their deaths in the millions. They hadn't a clue about strategy. They belonged in the days of the forming squares, cavalry charges in the Battle of Waterloo. They just had no idea what to do against tanks, heavy artillery and heavy machine guns. It was an absolute massacre. It's so sad what happened. But here we've got a game about it, guys, and the game is fun. I've done about 11, 12 hours in it, and I've really had a good time. I've pretty much in my campaign won now. I probably need another couple of hours to finally win, but I've broke the Germans and they've gone bankrupt, and I'm just charging on over to Berlin to kill their sausage factories. The game itself, it's got a campaign, it's got historical battles, and it's got AI skirmishes. The AI is alright, some of the pathfinding's a bit iffy, but the AI can put up a decent battle. It does get a little bit repetitive as well as you go on, but I'll tell you how it works, and you can see how it all comes together and decide whether it's something for you. You start off on the campaign map. Now this is a hex-based map. You can only fight hexes that are touching your hex, and each hex has a star value. Now what the stars mean is if you lose all your stars, you lose that hex. To lose a star, you have to have a devastating defeat on that. So if the Germans attacked one of my hexes and took every victory point and my HQ, they would take 1 star off that. Now if they don't attack it next go, I get that star back. So what you have to do is you have to gang up on a hex and hit it again and again and again and take down them stars. Now, you can't see what troops the enemy has on that, so you're attacking blindly unless you have spies, which are highly useful. You send a spy in and he'll have a look and say, oh yeah, he's got all of this stuff there, so you get a bit of an idea of what you can send against that to get yourself a victory. You can build on top of your own hexes as well. Lots of different buildings that you can unlock in the research tree. The main ones you want are the supplies, because everything is about supplies in this game. Every unit costs a certain amount of supplies. Every artillery shot you fire costs a certain amount of supplies. So the more supplies you take into battle, the more hardware you can bring with you and kick ass with. So building supplies on hexes that are going to get attacked or that you're going to attack with is absolutely essential. The tech tree itself is spread out among lots of different areas. Infantry, artillery kind of stuff, tanks, economics, which is what I went quite well into. And this means that you can adapt different strategies in the game, which is what I really like. When you're attacking other hexes, you can auto-resolve, or you can fight the battle yourself in real time. I would highly recommend you fight it yourself in real time, unless it's going to be an absolutely overwhelming win. They're the only times I'll ever let the computer do an auto-resolve. You can't actually buy troops to put on hexes. You get troops given at certain times of the year, and you don't get many. What you can buy though is, as I said, you can buy certain buildings to buff. You can also buy planes and tanks, which are essential. Now when you get into a battle, whether it's you attacking them or them attacking you, you then have a blank kind of canvas. You might have a few trenches there, and these are persistent. So if you put some trenches down there, if you buy stuff with your supplies, and then you're fighting in that place again, your trenches will stay there. It's all quite well done the way it works. They'll decay over time as well, like trenches collapse and that over time. So you can see where your trenches used to be, but they're like a bit of a collapsed state. It's all really good. But like I say, you have like a blank canvas apart from a few trenches. You've got to decide which trenches you're going to put in, what type of trenches. You can put it down up to 30 units at one time on the battlefield, if you have that many. You can put light artillery down, you can put heavy artillery down. You can put machine guns down, which are essential if you're going to get attacked, and you probably will. And you can put barrage balloons down, which are important as well, because barrage balloons allow you to see further. You can see the shaded area, the fog of war on the mini-map up at the top right as to how far you can see with the barrage balloons. You've got to protect them though, because their air force will try to shoot them down and their artillery will hit them as well. So once you've deployed all your troops, your tanks, or whatever you're going to be using, it's their time to kick off the battle. Now, if they're attacking you and they have a lot more troops than you, which they probably will if they're attacking you, it's best to field a defensive campaign. I actually fielded an entire defensive war, me. I'll talk about that in a second. But in the battles, being defensive is very good to soak up the first few waves. It gets a bit tower defensy, if you like, because you've got your static machine guns and everything. And then when you think the enemy's kind of running short, if he's not getting anywhere, you then go on the offensive and hopefully take over the map. The pathfinding on the battlefield can be a bit iffy. The AI also makes some rather stupid decisions now and then, but then again, sometimes he pulls off some master strokes as well, reinforcing the right areas at the right time. His artillery is slightly a bit iffy, his artillery. Some things he sees when I don't think he should be able to, but yeah, that's a bit. But overall, no real complaints. With my tactics, I decided to go very economical on this and get a bit buff me gold income, because gold is used to buy supplies, and I bought a shit ton of extra supplies for most of my hexes on the front line. And that allowed me to have a lot of units that I could put down in defensive structures in particular during the battles. And I would bait the enemy by leaving a bit of a gap in my lines to see if he'd take the bait and come rushing through. And he did a lot of the time. And I would set up like areas of ambush with machine gun nests and troops, and having trenches behind my trenches but just out the way of his artillery range with machine guns on proved absolutely vital in my defense. You see, the way you attack in this, whether you're attacking them or the AI's attacking you, the tactics is pretty much the same. You use light artillery to suppress the trenches, and the trouble with light artillery is it has a massive area of effect. Way too much. When I was attacking the enemy, I took out, I think, 6 trenches with 2 single barrages. You don't take them out, what you do is you suppress them. It shows you on the map where they'll hit, but it goes much bigger than that. And I think it's about 30 to 40 seconds you can silence an enemy trench. Now that gives your guys time to charge in and dive in the trench and start giving them the old cold steel. So it's kind of... it's stupid. That's the word I'm looking for. Freaking stupid, guys. It shouldn't be as powerful as that because it got a bit repetitive. I was just kind of charging forward and silencing everything he had, diving in the trenches and taking over the area and winning the battles. Especially when he started to go bankrupt and he couldn't fund the war anymore, it just became ridiculously easy. So it does need a bit of balance, and I would certainly nerf light artillery. I think it's absolutely overpowered. Things all change when tanks come on the battlefield. You have to change your tactics completely because tanks, they go far too fast. That needs nerfing as well. And they're crazily fast. They're very hard to hit with your bombers. You can hit them with mortars that you can put down, and as you go through the war, you get more and more points to put into the tech trees. The tech tree's really good. It has lots of different branches to it as well, so whatever you fancy going heavily into, you can. And you can get concrete kind of bunkers, which are really hard to shift. And you get your own tanks as well, machine gun tanks and tanks that fire cannons. So it all kind of changes and becomes very mechanized, as it did in real life. Overall, I like the game. It's got a few problems, like I've just mentioned, but being repetitive is probably the biggest problem when you're fighting the same map over and over again. But I'm really enjoying the game. It's definitely worth a buy. It's getting a thumb up. It's £30. It's finished now, but the devs are constantly updating the game. It had a patch just the other day, and I think there's another one due as well anytime now. So they're giving it a bit of love. It's got multiplayer as well, but I haven't actually tried that. So there you go, guys. The Great War, real-time strategy and a bit of turn-based strategy, and quite deep tech tree, which allows you to fight the battle in any way you like, really. Lots of strategies that you can use. You can be aggressive or you can be defensive. It's a good game.